Hi gang, Rob here. It is the afternoon of 12 September 2018 and it's time for a knife review on the TheApostleP channel. And I know some of you are already furrowing your brows and raising your eyebrows in confusion because the knife before the TheApostleP camera today is made in China. And many of you are aware that I don't review Chinese knives. I've got some sharpening customers that are, fans of the Rayats, the Kaisers, and knives made for other makers on contract by those companies. And they're always sending me knives to sharpen, saying, hey, would you like to do a video on my knife? And I always answer them the same way. Scott, I don't do reviews of Chinese knives on this channel. But this is an exception. This is the Ruike P801-SF. So the P801, I think, is a fairly prolific model for Ruike knives. That is the correct pronunciation, I believe. Ruike Knives is the sister company to Phoenix Flashlights. And I think most of you candle power heads are well acquainted with Phoenix Flashlights. They are renowned for making high quality illuminators. And, I don't have a vast experience with Ruike knives, but apparently their cutlery follows that same model of quality. Now, why on earth am I reviewing a Chinese knife on this YouTube channel? Well, you guys know my Chinese knife ownership rule of thumb. What do I always say? To the consternation of lots of globalists and fans of Chinese cutlery, they say, you can't tell me that $300 Rayat is only worth 30 bucks. And that is not what I mean. When I say $30 would be my personal spending limit for a knife made in China, I say that from the following standpoint. I have no desire to own or collect knives made in China. But if I wanted a really good quality EDC pocket knife and I only had 30 bucks to spend, and if there were an offering from China that was better and maybe even markedly better from anything made in America or Germany or Taiwan, all countries with free market economies, in contrast to China, which is a communist currency manipulating economy that uses near slave labor. You guys have heard me rant about that. Under those circumstances only, a constraint in my budget that gave me only 30 bucks to spend, and there were a Chinese product available for my need that fit in that price parameter of higher quality than anything I could buy American made, then and only then would I buy a Chinese knife. And I know some of you are not familiar with the Ruike P801 are looking at this knife in front of the camera going, that can't be a $30 knife. Guess what? You can buy it anywhere you want for $29 and change. So what is the Ruike P801? Well, it is a modern folder, obviously. It is deployed by flipper or thumb stud equally effectively. The blade is suspended around a pivot and then on bearings, caged ball variety. The action is really nice. The detent, plenty adequate for a flipper, but not so strong that it locks the knife closed if you try to deploy it with your fingers on the lock bar. In fact, I can even fail it with fingers on the lock bar. It's got the right pivot tension, or the right detent tension. The blade, 3 7/16 inches long, a nice drop point, classic drop point with a pointy sticky tip, fashioned of Sandvik 14C28N steel. Beautifully stonewashed. The handle, stainless steel as well. It's like 3CR13, so you know, something like 410 stainless. And then depending on the source of information you're looking at, this is either stonewashed stainless steel in the handle, or it's a coated and then stonewashed stainless steel. So the frame lock mechanism needs no steel insert, for it is made of steel. The pocket clip, doggone it guys, why did you make it right hand only? But it is tip up, right hand, deep carry. No relief milled pocket for the base of the clip. Or is there? Yes there is, but the screw heads do stick up rather high, which means it might fight your pants a little bit, getting it in your pocket. But not bad. It's a pretty good clip, adequate tension, but not overly tight. Standoffs are hourglass shaped, and they're also stainless steel. Everything on this knife is stainless steel. Even the blue anodized pocket clip and pivot collars are stainless steel. The handle, only 3.6 inches in thickness, 4.5 inches long. It is a super slim pocket pal. Ergonomically quite good, just not much going on. It is very straight, just a little bit of a bump in the spine of the handle that seems to work quite nicely. And the hammer grip looks good, the draw cut grip looks good, vertical draw cut grip nice and comfortable. Reverse grip pretty good. Yeah. And it's really kind of hard to describe how satisfying the action is on this knife. It must have an internal, or does it? You know, I don't know if it does have an internal stop. It does not. Everything happens with this stop pin right here at the top of the frame. It almost feels hydraulic. I don't feel each individual ball bearing as it's opening and closing. It's just very sweet. Very sweet. It's super impressive for a $30 knife. Just everything is squared away on this thing. No leverage there. I mean, really squared away. I have heard reports that blade centering is a bit of a problem on the P801s. This one looks like it favors the lock side just a hair. But for $29 and change, I'm not complaining. I imagine I could loosen that pivot a little bit and get that to come home. Maybe I'll do that before I send it back to my sharpening customer. This is a knife that was sent to me to sharpen. Ground super thinly. In fact, so beautifully thinly that I opted to go no micro bevel on this one. Just 17 degrees, which doesn't give you a very broad bevel, which is why I didn't do a micro. Easy enough to resharpen without doing a micro bevel. And take a look, guys. Look at the consistent width of that sharpened bevel. That means the knife is ground with perfect distal taper and is super consistent in thickness behind the edge. Let's face it, 80% of production knives get that wrong. And when you consider most of the production knives that get it right are all etched with a bug logo and have a hole in the blade. Yeah, that's right, most of them come from Spyderco. The fact that this $29 Chinese stainless steel frame lock flipper has such a masterfully ground blade is a very good thing. And let's come to the base of the blade. What do we see? I'm not generally fond of diagonal plunge grinds, but this one is not overly diagonal. It presented absolutely zero sharpening challenges. Look at the perfectly formed sharpening choil. What a nice piece. I mean, this is a nice knife. Because of its all steel construction, It does weigh in at about 4.2 ounces, but it isn't bad weight, guys. It's a nearly 3.5-inch blade, all steel construction. Don't believe there's any milled pockets for relief in that handle. You might be able to see them better than I can, but I don't see anything. But it's so slim, 120 thousandths blade stock and only 3.6 inches in handle thickness, that the weight, it's not atrociously heavy. In fact, it gives you a bit of a feel of quality in hand. Pretty amazing. And does it cut? Well, you know, I think the Sandvik steels have been sort of overlooked the last few years in the knife world. But 14C28N takes a ridiculously fine edge. Let me do that again. And it push cuts like a banshee. This is just a darn good pocket knife, guys. Comparatively, you know, what's about the same size for about the same price? What is it? The Avispa from Essie, the larger frame lock that's very much like an Ontario Rat. The other knife would be the Ontario Rat 1. And, you know, those knives use AUS 8. This uses 14C28N. Can't tell you which one's better. I think I sort of prefer the keenness of edge that you get with 14C28 to AUS 8. I think from an aesthetic standpoint, this is a lot nicer looking knife than either of those. If it only were a little more ambidextrous, I might just have to buy one of these. So this, in my mind, is why the Chinese knife manufacturing industry should exist, to bring us stuff like this. You know, it's really not competing with any American product. It does provide an excellent value for what you get. I got nothing bad to say about this knife. It's just a little work of art. So good job, guys at Ruike. And those of you who are watching would be well to own one of these, I think. That's all for this one. Bet you didn't expect to hear that today on the TheApostleP channel, but you did. Hey, I'm heading out tomorrow on the 13th for Escanaba, Michigan for the September grind-in at Bark River. I should be shooting a lot of video up there this time. I think don't think I'm going to build a knife, and I've got lots of people I need to talk to, and lots of people that need to talk to you. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting time. Can't wait to get going. That's all for this one, my friends. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word and the Ruike P801-SF are sharp.